We are going to be hit even harder by this Delta variant that is going on. Folks, health officials say all Americans will now have access to COVID booster shots beginning next month. The U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the U.S. Food and Drug Administration suggests getting the booster shot 8 months after your second dose to be made available beginning September 20th. The CDC believes up to 664,000 deaths will be reported by September 11th. Now, folks, the country has more than 37 million reported cases and 640,000 deaths. Today, President Joe Biden said we are still in the pandemic of the unvaccinated.
That cases may be declining in a few places. Cases are still rising, especially among the unvaccinated. There are still 85 million Americans who are eligible to get vaccinated or remain unvaccinated and at real risk. Across the country, virtually all of the COVID-19 hospitalizations and deaths continue to be among the unvaccinated. In Alabama, more than 90% of the current hospitalizations are among the unvaccinated. In Texas, 95% of those in hospitals are unvaccinated. Right now, it's worse in states where overall vaccination rates are low. But let me be clear, even in states where the vaccination rate is high, the unvaccinated in those states are also at risk. And we're seeing cases rise as a result. Quite frankly, it's a tragedy. There are people who are dying and who will die who didn't have to. So please, if you haven't gotten vaccinated, do it now. Do it now. It could save your life, and it could save the lives of those you love.
Well, folks in New Zealand, they got some common sense. New Zealand put the entire nation on strict lockdown for at least 3 days after finding a single case of coronavirus infection in the community there. Throughout the pandemic, the country has reported more than 2,000 cases and 26 deaths. New Zealand managed to stamp out the virus, and the last outbreak was in February. Joining us now is Dr. Joseph Graves, Jr., Professor of Biological Sciences, North Carolina A&T. Doc, glad to have you back. So, okay, I need you to first explain this, Doc. These people are going, well, people who got the vaccine, they still getting COVID, so why should I take it? A year ago, you explained to folks that the vaccine that is actually being developed is specifically for COVID-19. That when there were strains and when there were variants, then that vaccine is not as fully effective. And so I've seen these people are now saying, well, how are people dying who still had the vaccine, but they then got COVID?
Well, I mean, Roland, this is really, really basic. The vaccines are effective and safe. they protect you from getting serious cases of COVID 2019. People who have been vaccinated are not dying. They're not being hospitalized. However, the original vaccines were designed for the original SARS coronavirus variant. A year has gone past, and as the president said in his news conference, about half of the eligible people in the United States have not been vaccinated. And that group of people is allowing the virus to warp speed its evolution so that it becomes more transmissible and more dangerous. Now, to give you a clear representation of how much dangerous it is, when SARS-CoV-2 started, it had an R0 number, the number of people that it could infect from one infected person, of around 3. The Delta variant now has an R0 of 9. And that means in 10 generations of SARS replication, it will infect 9 to the 10th power people. And so we're at a situation that should have been avoided by using some simple common sense, which unfortunately, the half of the people in this country, and unfortunately we know who that half is, most of those people are people who voted for Donald Trump in the 2020 election, see vaccination as some evil plan. But in fact, vaccination is the way that we get in front of this virus, and it's the way we return to our lives. But if we don't get vaccinated, things are going to get a whole lot worse. And it's going to get a whole lot worse a lot sooner than people can imagine.
Okay, and so we're still dealing with these folks who are just crazy and outlandish. You've got DeSantis and Abbott who are refusing to actually allow mask mandates. You have that going on, and you're dealing with folks who just I'm already seeing this whole deal. Okay, I don't know what's in it. I don't know what's in the booster shot. Somebody tweeted, I saw this interesting deal. They said, well, you didn't know what the hell those 11 herbs and spices in the KFC chicken is. I mean, you didn't order that chicken. And so you keep hearing that. How do you respond to all the folks out there who are saying, oh, yeah, you don't know what's in the vaccine. You don't know what's in the booster shot?
The way I respond is simple. COVID kills people. We don't have a single case of a person dying from the SARS-CoV-2 vaccine. In fact, what the SARS-CoV-2 vaccines have done is they've saved people's lives. And so it comes down to some really simple things. If you don't value your own life, then what about the lives of the people you care about? What about the lives of the people you love? Now, we have teachers going back into classrooms this fall without mask mandates and without vaccination mandates across the country. Now, a lot of these teachers have young children, so they're going to be going into situations where they can possibly pick up the COVID virus from asymptomatic people and then take it home to their children. And we now know that the Delta variant is making children sick. American hospital beds are running out. And a lot of those people in those beds now are young kids who, unfortunately, aren't yet eligible for the vaccine. So if these people have any decency whatsoever, they need to start thinking about people other than themselves, and they need to examine why they believe these idiotic things that they believe.
So then you have the folks who are, again, who put stuff out and they're like, well, you know, I trust the Lord, natural immunity. I'm looking for this. Somebody sent me this post earlier. Apparently Layla Ali posted something today that caused people to say, you know, what the hell are you talking about? And so here it is right here. Let me see if I can actually pull this up. Give me 1 second. I saw it. I didn't know if it was legitimate, but apparently she had posted this on her Instagram stories. and not necessarily. So this is what she wrote. Now, mind you, Layla Ali's got like 4 million Facebook followers, millions on Twitter and Instagram. People don't seem to understand that just because some folks don't wear masks, don't want the shot, don't listen to the media, or live in fear, it doesn't mean they don't believe the virus is real or think they can't get it. They know it was created to harm humanity. They simply choose to build up and trust their own immune system like they have been doing all their life. If they get it, they will deal with it. It's a God-given choice. I know this kind of faith is impossible for some to comprehend, but lean not on your own understanding. Before you claim they are putting others in danger, you should do your own research to learn if that's actually true. You can't change anyone but yourself, so you do you. Real talk, Layla Ali. Doc, how do you respond to that?
Well, the first thing I want all your viewers to know is that not only am I a research scientist, but I'm a confirmed Episcopalian. I go to church every Sunday. I've served on the COVID vaccination task force of the Episcopal Diocese of North Carolina. This morning, I was in a session with the faculty and the staff of the New Brunswick Theological Seminary. These are people who study the Word of the Lord and who are in service to their communities, and none of them are saying things like that. And so, we have had a history of some bad science, and we've also had a history of some bad theology. And so, I do want people to think for themselves. I do want them to be introspective. I do want them to have strong faith. But, in the words of the famous joke about the man who was sitting on top of a house in floodwaters, and when the boat came to rescue him, he said, I don't want a boat. I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And then when the helicopter came to save him, he says, well, I don't want to get on the helicopter. I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And then after he died from the flood and got to heaven, and he asked God, why didn't you rescue me? Well, God said to him, well, I sent you a boat and I sent you a helicopter. And so that's where we are, okay? We have God-given intellect, which has allowed us to develop one of the strongest biomedical and biotechnology research infrastructures in the world, and hospitals and medicines that can prevent people from getting sick and dying. The SARS-CoV-2 vaccines are the result of the tremendous advancements that have occurred in the last 20 years. When people say the vaccines came out so quickly, the reason they came out so quickly is because our science and understanding of how to make vaccines went through a huge jump in the last 20 years. And so when we have something that is as valuable and as important as this technology, which can save lives, it just seems to me that this is not good theology to say, oh, well, let's just wait for God to send an angel rather than a helicopter. As a person of faith, I have to stand resolutely against that kind of bad religion.
Well, Pastor John P. Key, I think probably is in line with you. He put this on Instagram today. We're going to try to have him on the show tomorrow. This is what he said. This thing seems to only hit home when it affects the people you know, #your family. Today, I've received tons of horror stories that I will not post. I'll go out on a limb and tell you I believe this disease is preventable. We pastors beg you to take the necessary precautions, and you laugh, mock, and criticize us, and now your family is angry because the church won't handle your $12,000 funeral expense.
Says it all, Roland. It says it all.
It is crazy out here. Dr. Graves, thank you very much for enlightening us with real information. I have people sitting here hitting me up saying, why won't you have so-and-so on? And my first thing I say is this person a doctor or a scientist? If not, I don't want to hear a damn thing from them about COVID-19 or the vaccine. I don't want to hear, I'm not putting conspiracy theorists on. I'm not putting these fools on and all this, oh, so-and-so. And again, when Layla's like, oh, do your own research, that's part of the problem now. We got a whole bunch of, Google doctors out here who all of a sudden are saying this when these are the same people, Doc, who have allergies and got no problem taking Zyrtec D, or any of these medicine, and they ain't got a damn clue what the hell is in that allergy pill. They get a headache, they take Tylenol or Aleve, they ain't got no clue what's in that Advil or that Aleve or that Tylenol. And so it's just amazing to listen to these people who, many of them are on high blood pressure medication, diabetes medication, thyroid medication, hypertension, all this sort of stuff, and they sitting here going, oh, I don't know what's in it. Like I keep saying, ain't no flip side to death.
I'm completely with you, Roland. If you're going to build a bridge, you don't tell people do your own research and then go out and build a bridge. I mean, there are people who went to school, who have training, who are professionals in the area, who are engineers, who know how to build a bridge that's not going to fall down. In the same way, with regard to medicine and science, there are people, and I'm not saying just white folks, there are credible research scientists who are African Americans who have been working to help end this pandemic from the very start. In fact, as I'm sure I've said on one of your earlier interviews, one of the people who helped design the Moderna vaccine, Dr. Kitzbensia Corbett, is an African-American woman who graduated from UNC Chapel Hill and is now at Harvard at the Chan School of Public Health. So if folks won't listen to us, I don't know what kind of research they're doing. Because if I want to build a bridge, I'm not going to go to somebody who builds shanties for a living.
Well, in fact, I'll leave it on this point. It's a whole bunch of folks taking vitamins. They probably haven't even read the back where they say the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, has not approved any of this, but they actually believe that those vitamins make them better.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we're working very hard, particularly at North Carolina A&T, to do, to build more African-American students who go into engineering, into medicine, into biomedical research. We have, leading academic institutions that are working to help end this pandemic. And so one of the things I'll say to your viewers, if you want to see this end, you should be supporting your HBCUs.
Absolutely. Dr. Graves, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Football bans and one of the best fan experiences in the country. The Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge kickoff returns to Atlanta on August 28th, along with special guests, College Game Day. Then Alcorn State takes on North Carolina Central with conference bragging rights on the line. Center Park Stadium is the place to be on August 28th. Come tailgate all day before enjoying a primetime matchup on the gridiron. You don't want to miss this. Check out MEACSWACChallenge.com for more information.
And of course, we'll be live in Atlanta August 27th and 28th, supporting the SWAC MEAC Challenge in partnership with Coca-Cola. Friday, we'll broadcast the show from the Atlanta Braves Baseball Stadium, interviewing officials with the SWAC and the MEAC, plus the university presidents. On Saturday, August 28th, we'll be broadcasting live from the Coca-Cola fan zone outside of the stadium. And then, of course, we'll be live streaming the halftime show and the performance after the game. So check out Roland Martin Unfiltered from the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. And don't forget, the game airs at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN on Saturday, August 28th. These folks are saying, damn the children. They are ignoring all this data we keep seeing. They're ignoring the ICU cases. They're ignoring all of these things because they now want to make this thing out to be, oh, that's a personal thing. See, now you want to see stupid? Boom. This literally just dropped 5 seconds ago from the Texas Tribune. Breaking. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is asking hospitals to delay certain elective procedures so space can be freed for COVID-19 patients. He still won't let local governments and schools require masks or vaccines. What an asshole.
That's a nice way of putting it, Roland. I mean, that man is a certified public idiot. And many people had to wait until, April, May, June of this year to get elective surgery. And now he's asking them to put it off again because his intellectually deficient behind can't figure out that masks are important, that vaccinations are important. He's playing Russian roulette with people's lives, and he's doing it for political gain. And somebody in the Republican Party, because we can say all we want as Democrats, they're not going to pay us any mind. Where are the Republicans with sense? That's what I want to know. Where are the Republicans who will call this governor out and say, look? And that clip you showed earlier, I mean, I'm glad that I was not on camera. I hope I wasn't, because I was about to roll on the floor. That stupid pastor who said, we got Jesus. No, you don't. You don't have a speck of Jesus in you. Because if you had Jesus, you would look at the Bible that says things like, love your fellow man. If you loved your fellow man, you'd have a vaccination, you put your darn mask on. I mean, he doesn't have Jesus. What he has is a microphone, and that's all.
I just don't get it. I don't get just this notion that these things are not happening on Congo. I mean, he don't do elective procedures to free the beds up, and you're telling districts no mask mandates. You're threatening school districts as well. You tell TEA don't inform parents of positive COVID tests. That is demonic. That's demonic, evil leadership.
He's killing people, plain and simple. And, you talk about that pastor talking about Jesus and God. Jesus and God, gave us the science that created the vaccine and the mask and all of these other types of things. So where do you draw the line? Look, going back to these schools and what Mr. Spar was talking about, look, the other part that he didn't talk about, and I know he knows about it, but just didn't mention it this time around, was that also the stay-at-home option is no longer there. So if parents are opting to stay home, they are on their own. They are not going to get the Zoom from the teachers as they did last time. So that's also not an option for parents in these public schools. And so DeSantis is going to take that money from the schools and give it to parents to send their kids to a private school where they have mask mandates, because as Mr. Spar said, there's no policy for the for the private and charter schools. This is idiotic, and I really feel for the parents who don't have the resources. And I'm with the other town or city that you mentioned earlier that said, hey, screw the governors, we are going to do these mask mandates. The parents, the people have to stand up to protect their children. My son is going into the first grade in a K-8 school. The staff is all vaccinated, but by science alone, the majority of the people in that school with kids are not going to be vaccinated. We got the mask mandates, all of the precautions are being met. And we also know that our public schools because they're not getting the financial resources, they are not being able to retrofit. They're not being able to do all of the things with the ventilation and all of that. So we're sending them into death traps, and they're going to be going home to their communities and spreading this at an even faster rate. Governors got to go, and the people need to stand up across the country to save our children and everybody that they might infect as well.
Mustafa, last point here. Go to my computer, please. This was from Associated Press. Breaking. Arkansas reports the largest number of COVID-19 hospitalizations in the state since the pandemic began. The state reported its COVID-19 hospitalizations rose by 103, its biggest one-day increase to 1,376.
So here's what we can do. And for some reason, folks haven't done it yet. I have expertise in climate law, but I know a little bit about criminal law as well. So there is child endangerment, there is public endangerment, and there is reckless endangerment. So these individuals who are making these decisions, there are ramifications for those. And folks need to begin to call them to the mat, as folks would say, and actually take these folks to court. If you want them to stop this type of behavior, then we've got to utilize the courts. We have tried everything else. We've actually asked people's better angels to do the right thing. We've supplied the science. We've given examples of how we can actually slow the virus and eventually stop the virus. None of these things are motivating these folks. So it's time to take them to court.
Folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
A man posted on TikTok. He was venting his frustrations with increased COVID cases of the unvaccinated. Take a listen.
Hey folks, how you doing? I just got a quick question about this whole COVID, not getting vaccinated and running to the fucking hospital once you get the virus fucking deal, because this shit is out of fucking control, all right? And I'm gonna give you a quick story on why I think it's out of fucking control. Last week I had to bring my wife into the hospital. She has stage 4 breast cancer. She was dealing with some symptoms, and I had to bring her in to get some fluid drained. She was having some pain, blah, blah, blah. She was in there for 2 days. On the 3rd day, she honestly should have stayed one more day. Maybe 2 more days, okay? But on the 3rd day, instead of draining her fluid and what they wanted to do, they told us that she had to be discharged because they had no room left in the hospital because of COVID. Here's my question. Why 99% of everybody that's in the hospital with COVID right now is unvaccinated, okay? If you really fucking believe that COVID's not real, and you really believe that's not a big deal, and you really believe that you don't need to get the vaccine, that is your fucking right, okay? I'm not gonna argue with you about that. What I am gonna argue with about is you running to the fucking hospital once you get the virus. If you don't trust the medical field to prevent you from getting it, why do you trust them to cure you from it? Why do you run to the fucking hospital? If you really believe that COVID's not a big deal and it's not this, that, the other, and you don't get the vaccine because stick to your fucking guns and keep your motherfucking ass at home. Stop running to the hospital, putting everybody else at fucking risk, and in turn, the collateral damages. People like my wife who actually need medical fucking help for a chronic fucking disease get kicked out of the hospital because your dumb ass is too stupid to go get a fucking vaccine shot. Keep your ass at home. If you really believe COVID's not a big deal, prove it. Stick to your fucking guns, keep your ass at home, and fucking deal with it.
Well, there we go. He says, stay at home if you are sick. People are flooding the hospital. He had a sick wife, and because of those folks who are unvaccinated, they are flooding the hospital. Let's bring Dr. Daphne. Again, thank you so much for being with us. First off, I want to get your reaction. A lot of people may be feeling the same way. We know the uptick in cases is promoting more mask mandates as we continue to move forward. Now, the mask mandates here are many states. No cities are moving forward towards requiring vaccination confirmation. So, Dr. Daphne, if you wouldn't mind just kind of giving it, what is it like being number one on the front lines and the reaction that a lot of people are seeing with the mask mandates? They want to wear them or they don't want to wear them.
Yeah. So I live and work in Long Island, a suburb outside of New York City, and I responded to the initial surge of the COVID-19 outbreak last spring. And I did both hospital rounds as well as outpatient care for COVID-19 patients. And as the pandemic has evolved and we've gotten smarter with technology, I can now make a diagnosis right here in my office with rapid testing, as opposed to having to say, based on this combination of symptoms, I suspect you have COVID-19, and then trying to make a decision about, does this person need to go to the hospital immediately? Should we watch and wait because of the bed crisis we had back then? Fortunately, I live and work in a state that is highly vaccinated, and so we are seeing a significant difference in terms of the number of cases and hospitalizations we're seeing from COVID-19 versus a state like Florida or Louisiana or Arkansas or places in Texas where their hospitals are at 75, 85, 90% capacity. and where their ICUs are again being maxed out, like in Tennessee, because there's a significant hesitation to get vaccinated. So we're in those states where less than 30% of people or less than 50% of people are fully vaccinated, they are back in the same crisis mode we were in November before we had a vaccine available, or where we were in spring of 2020 when we were really at the height of the onset of the pandemic. And I have to say, I totally feel that man's pain. I feel his pain as a breast cancer survivor myself, as someone who is close and connected to people who are immunocompromised or immunosuppressed or chronically ill and need access to their doctors and other healthcare professionals. And that we should not be in a position when we have 3 vaccine candidates available to us, where any person in this country can simply go and present themselves in any location, a hospital, a healthcare setting, a doctor's office, a pharmacy, a grocery store, Walmart, for God's sake. You can get a vaccine anywhere. There is no need for this, and I understand his frustration, and I totally understand why he cursed and dropped F-bomb after F-bomb, because there is no eloquent way to put it. What we are dealing with is ridiculous. And even as a healthcare professional, someone who has given their life and given their all to taking care of other people and ensuring the health and well-being of people, I'm quite frustrated. And I sort of, in my own personal life, not in my stethoscope, not in my office, but Alexia feels like, if you don't wear a mask, if you don't want to get vaccinated, you want to run out and be at bars and restaurants and do high-risk things without regards to everybody else's health and well-being, you shouldn't come to a hospital expecting everybody to drop everything, push everyone else to the side, and save you. Dr. Gaffney, triple board certified infectious disease physician, understands that everybody doesn't get it. Everyone doesn't hold the same belief. And unfortunately, there are real health consequences to that. And so I gave an oath to take care of people and to meet their needs. But it is incredibly frustrating that we are where we are today.
Folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Seek.com, we are partnering with them, of course. We appreciate their support right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Check out a couple of their products that you can take advantage of.
Bon Jovi, you're watching us on Seek.
What's going on? This Quavo Huncho, but right now you in the Huncho's world.
Please let the music play.
Enjoy the Seek.com video by using one of their virtual reality headsets. All you do is just pop your phone right here into the VR headset and enjoy the content. You can also take advantage of their 360-degree headphones. These headphones here come in a couple of colors, black and gold, but then also all gold. And so you can check these out. If you want to use our promo code to get a discount, it's RMVIP21, RMVIP21. Then, of course, a portion of the proceeds comes back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, which allows for us to fund the show. And so this is a black-owned company, and we certainly believe in supporting black-owned companies. Mary Spiel is the founder. And so, again, go to Seek.com and use the promo code RMVIP21. Now, folks, Florida has reported 134,506 new COVID-19 cases over the last week. In just under 2 weeks, 6 unvaccinated members of the same church contracted COVID-19 and died in Jacksonville, Florida. Currently, 15 to 20 members from the church are in the hospital. The church hosted a free vaccination clinic on Sunday for those who wanted to get vaccinated. But this thing goes even deeper than that, folks. What we're seeing is a number of companies, law firms, and others now requiring their workers to be fully vaccinated. The NFL is taking a very strong stand when it comes to this issue as well. Yet you still have players like Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins, who said that he will not take it, and then he said he will protect himself as best possible, including plexiglass. Well, it's a little hard for you to have plexiglass surrounding you if you're playing on the field. Lamar Jackson, who plays for the Baltimore Ravens, their star quarterback, he's tested positive for COVID, and he still says he's unsure if he's going to take the vaccine. you tested positive twice. We are seeing, folks, more and more of these cases. We're seeing in hospitals where children are dying as a result of getting this Delta variant. It is causing significant issues all across this country. And so we've been keeping up with a lot of the folks who've been following this. More and more people also are posting all types of videos, things of that nature, in order for people to understand what's going on. We've had on the show before, of course, the brother out of Arizona. He's goes by Cleavon MD. This is what he actually posts on his page, on his Twitter page. He has an ongoing graphic, guys. Let me know if y'all can see it. All right, we're going to figure out what's going on here. I want to pull that up because it really jumped out at me. And so let me just get this straight here. I want you to see this. What he does is he posts ongoing messages on his social media account with regards to COVID, what's happening with COVID. And it goes by Cleavon, CLEAVON _MD. And so what he does is he, I got it, Anthony. I think this is going to be the fix right here. Let's see if this works. I got it. We're up. So I want to show you this here. So this is what he's going by. You go to the hashtag souls lost to COVID, souls lost to COVID. And what he does is he posts a lot of these items. They are teachers, they are doctors. I saw a story the other day, post the other day, of a gentleman who is an architect in Arkansas. He felt he was healthy, 49 years old, did not want take the vaccine, but he's now dead. And it's causing a lot of conversation in the community where he lives because people are now talking about it, and it's now gotten their attention. His wife actually gave a comment where she said that now people realize this is an issue by saying that now they realize it comes to their doorsteps. This says a whole lot, folks, as well.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Robert and Vi Herring, both in their 70s, were lifelong residents of the area, married 34 years with 5 children between them. They didn't like the idea of getting the vaccine, their children said. They became sick after attending a 52nd high school reunion and died within 3 days of each other at a Fort Smith hospital in late July. Now, Shonda Parrish is their daughter. She considered her father her hero. She's devastated, she said, clinging to waves of numbness between grief and anger. The deaths have caused a rift within the family, whose children remain split on their views of the vaccine. Ms. Parrish, by the way, who is a nurse, says she still won't get it. She simply doesn't trust a newly created vaccine. She doesn't regret that her parents didn't get vaccinated, she said. It was their choice. Instead, she regrets that she was quarantining ahead of a cancer treatment when they fell ill and couldn't be involved in pushing to get them hospitalized sooner. Ms. Parrish's last interaction with her father was a voicemail from the hospital of him moaning and gasping for breath. It doesn't even sound human, she said. I don't like hearing it, but I can't delete it. One of y'all can go ahead and talk.
Yeah, you know, when my dad got COVID in the hospital, and they called me and started reading the last rites over the phone. I didn't know what the guy was doing, the reverend guy, and this was at the height of it all. And I'm like, wow, what if those were like really the last moments, right? How many families have had to go through that situation where the parent didn't come home, or the child or the son or whoever, and they died alone in these rooms on these ventilators? And look, this argument that this is a new thing, people started working on this vaccine over 2 years ago as it related to SARS and other derivations that eventually would become this COVID. So this whole idea of it's new, it's not true. And again, to say that you're mad at you're not mad that this is how they chose to go. This idea of, well, if they die, they die. This is not how it's supposed to be. And it is really ridiculous, especially when we see the numbers rising with children now. And they're not only rising with children, but they're rising with them more quickly. So hospitals, I heard just today, a hospital in Texas, it took 3 months to get to a certain level of COVID patients, and they got there in 3 weeks this time around. So if you're not going to wake up to it now, you're going to be attending a wake for a family member, and people got to get over this right now.
The thing here, Julianne, this was a quote from the daughter. Since the Herrings died, Ms. Parrish has felt judgment from friends and acquaintances asking why her parents weren't vaccinated, why she didn't make them get vaccinated. Quote, we didn't kill them, but some people make us feel like it's our fault. They're gone. No one should try to make you feel guilty because someone died. Now, her brother feels different. He said apparently he tried unsuccessfully to push his parents to get vaccinated, and is now trying to persuade his relatives. He was put off by friends and acquaintances pushing conspiracy theories about the vaccine even after his parents' death. I'm absolutely angry and frustrated. Their age and health conditions, they should have gotten vaccinated really early, and then trying to talk to friends of theirs and hearing these ridiculous things about depopulation and computer chips.
You know, first of all, this woman, Miss Parrish, she's a nurse. She should not be allowed into anybody's hospital. If she refuses to get vaccinated, she should be forced either to get vaccinated or to find another job. You cannot telework as a nurse. So go do something else. You know, I mean, seriously, her brother is absolutely right. They didn't kill their parents, but they contributed to their death. This laissez-faire attitude of what will be, let's not worry about it. If I die, I die. If you want to die, you'll die. Not having the vaccine, as far as I'm concerned, is akin to committing suicide. You're saying that you wish to be dead, and you're prepared to actively court death, especially if you're of a certain age. These people were in their 70s. From a picture of them, Roland, they look like vital people. They went to a high school reunion from 50 years ago. They didn't have to die. They chose to die by listening to all this gobbledygook that keeps coming from wherever. And I don't know who these people are, but I have to confess, I have a sibling who refuses to get the vaccination. And no matter what we say to him, you know, it's a white man's conspiracy. It's he doesn't trust it. And whatever he has to say, it's absurd. And it has to be coaxed to wear a mask. I mean, we refuse up until a point to wear a mask until the nurse practitioner told him he couldn't come in the house to see his mother as she was dying unless he put a mask on. So I don't know where these folks come from, and I don't know what they're thinking, but I know that they're imperiling others and they're imperiling themselves.
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just 1 moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You are continuing to see the pressure that's being applied to what's going on. Man, you've got in Florida, where you've got Ron DeSantis, who's an idiot governor, where school districts are opposing him. He's threatening to actually hold the salaries of superintendents who move forward on a mask mandate. One of those superintendents said, fine, I'm not here, hold my salary. I'm here to educate these children and to keep them safe. In Texas, school districts are fighting Governor Greg Abbott there as well. I had a chance to talk with Surgeon General Vivek Murthy about COVID-19, the vaccines, the variants, and also how vitally important mask mandates are to protecting Americans. All right, Surgeon General Murthy, glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Always good to see you. Let's jump right into this. We have spent a whole lot of time on this show putting on black experts and scientists and doctors and ER doctors, anesthesiologists, epidemiologists, going on and on, trying to walk through people the reality of COVID and the vaccine. You know, how important is it to have trusted voices speaking to different communities, because there is so much misinformation and disinformation out here?
Well, Roland, it is absolutely essential that we have trusted messengers telling people the truth about what science tells us about COVID-19 and the vaccine. You know, in the old days, we used to say that information is power, but it turns out that information plus is power, because people are awash with information right now. They're trying to figure out what they can trust and what they can't, what's true, what's not. You need somebody to help filter that for you, and you've got to trust in that person. And that's why, even if you're a family member or friend who's got no background in health or science, you might be the trusted person in someone's life who can help them understand what the truth is about COVID-19 vaccines, who can help them make a decision about getting vaccinated. But it's also why, as communities, we've got to put our trusted messengers forward, whether that's our faith leaders, whether that's our local doctors and nurses. We've got to make sure they're at the front lines talking to folks so people can get accurate information. Because, look, as a doctor, I believe everyone has a right to the facts so they can make the right decisions for themselves. People may make different decisions, but they have a right to have the accurate information that you and I have access to. And that's why trusted messengers are so important.
But what do you make of the folks who keep saying, especially we see these folks on the right who keep saying, I saw Senator Rick Scott the other day, you know, people have a choice, people have a choice. And that they act as if it's good versus bad. And they keep harping on that, but we're talking about an increasing number of children in ICUs. We're talking about this one church in Florida, 20 people infected. 6 have already died. And so then I saw a tweet today even, a Kansas U.S. Senator Roger Marshall saying, who's a doctor, oh, no one has convinced me that masks are effective. That, as a Surgeon General, that has to absolutely drive you crazy, that a Republican United States Senator who is an MD is saying that on television.
Well, look, first I want to say people do have a choice, right, about whether they get vaccinated or not. But what people do also need to make their decisions is they need to know that the information they're getting is reliable. And you know what's misinformation and false information being peddled around, that's not new. But what is new is the speed, the scale, and sophistication with which this misinformation is spreading everywhere. So, you know, I agree that people should have a choice. But how are people supposed to make the choices that are best for them? They don't have accurate information. This is why a couple of weeks ago, when I issued the Surgeon General's advisory confronting health misinformation, and one of the groups that I called to action on this were actually technology companies, especially social media platforms, which for years have allowed misinformation to spread like wildfire and have not done nearly enough to address it. That misinformation is now affecting our health. It's costing us in terms of hospitalization, lives lost, is people have said they don't want the vaccine because they've out about the COVID-19 vaccine. So this misinformation has consequences. And if you're helping, if you're contributing to the spread of misinformation, like on these social media platforms, you've got to step up, address that. It's costing people their life.
But what I'm struggling with, again, I've seen Dr. Anthony Fauci going sparring back and forth with Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, doctor. Again, Senator Roger Marshall, doctor. I was reading the other day in Arkansas, there's an ER doctor who is in the state legislature who voted, who is trying to give out information about COVID, yet he voted again. He voted for banning mask mandates in Arkansas and said, well, our numbers were dropping. I'm still struggling with that. I'm not quite sure. Yet I've seen the studies that come out that lay out that masks do work, that depending upon the mask that you're wearing, it is stopping the transmission of particles. And so we literally are fighting over masks, and you're sort of like, okay, what in the world more can we say and do to get people to understand that even though you might get the vaccine, you still have to take precautions, which includes wearing a mask?
Yeah, well, this debate on masks, I think, is very unfortunate because we have built up a body of data over the last year and a half that's told us that masks do help reduce risk. They have to be good masks, good quality masks, but they do help protect us. And I don't think history will judge us well when years later we look back on this and recognize that simply wearing a thin piece of material on our faces could have reduced our risk of a life-threatening disease, but we didn't do it because we were either misled by misinformation or led to somehow believe that the mask was harmful to us, which it is not. So we've got to recognize what we're up against, which is a powerful, formidable virus that has cost us more than 600,000 lives. And we've got to take every measure we can to protect ourselves. Masks are one of these. Do they protect 100%? No, nothing does. But they do reduce risk. And vaccines are another critical piece of this. And as you mentioned, Roland, one of the recommendations the CDC recently put out is that if you are fully vaccinated and you're in part of the country where there's a lot of virus circulating, which is the vast majority of the country right now, that when you go to public indoor spaces, you should also wear a mask because there's a chance that you might transmit the virus to others. Now, you'll be okay yourself, most likely. This is a really critical point to make. The vaccines still work to save your life, ending up in the hospital, and they also reduce your risk of even getting mild infection. But if you do end up being one of the minority of folks who gets a breakthrough infection, it'll probably be either mild or you won't even have symptoms at all. But you could pass it on to somebody, which is why this is asking vaccinated people to wear masks in the setting.
Okay, can you really hone in on that? I had a woman who tweeted me today who she said, you folks are pushing the vaccine. She said, I had a family member who had the vaccine, yet they still passed away. And I keep saying, folks, no one said that the vaccine is 100% effective. In terms of you could do whatever you want, and you're never going to get it. Second, walk through that the vaccine that was created was for COVID-19, but it was not specifically for the Delta variant. And I think that's also what's confusing to people because they go, oh, COVID vaccine, then that's just going to protect me from anything and everything, and not understanding how viruses work and how they mutate and how they change once they interact with the human body.
Yeah, it's a really important question, Roland. And there's some good news here, which is even though we've gone through now several versions of COVID-19, you had the original version, you had an alpha version, now we're dealing with the Delta version. The good news is that the vaccines that were developed still have broad protection across those, particularly when it comes to preventing us from ending up in the hospital or losing our life. That is the good news. But they are different viruses in the sense that they act and behave differently. So the Delta variant is far more transmissible than any version of COVID we've seen to date. That means you've got to be a bit more cautious. It's also, there's some data that indicates it may cause more severe infection, making you more likely to end up in hospitalizations for people who are unvaccinated. So they should particularly be cautious. But even though the vaccines still work, and this is again another reason why even in the face of Delta, you should still get vaccinated, we can't bank on that always being the case for future variants. So if we allow the infection to continue spreading rampant in our population because not enough people are vaccinated, that means there's a greater chance that more variants will develop and we may have trouble down the line. And so we have a chance now. We still have vaccines that work for Delta and the other variants to really make sure we're doing everything we can to vaccinate everybody, get cases down, keep them down. And that's how we're going to reduce our chances of variants down the line.
So when you say other variants and what may happen with those other variants, and I heard that Dr. Fauci testify that the variant, and why is it more deadly? So how is a variant more deadly than the original one? Can you explain that for people, again, who don't quite understand the science behind this?
Sure. So what a variant is it's a different version of a virus, and that version comes about because of some mutation in the DNA that takes place. Now, when mutations take place in your DNA, they can affect the structure of the virus and how it functions. So some changes in the structure of a virus might make it easier to latch onto your cells and to infect you. That might make the virus more transmissible, in a sense. Other changes to the virus might make it more successful at damaging your cells or causing inflammation in your body, which could show up as more severe illness. It all depends on the nature of the change. Now, viruses mutate all the time. And most of the time, Roland, the changes that happen are not really consequential. But every now and then, there'll be a change that leads a virus to behave differently in a way that causes this harm. And that's actually what we see with Delta. We should just expect that this virus, being what it is, which is a coronavirus, a virus that mutates a lot, it's going to keep changing. And so that's why we often say we're in a race against the virus. It's the vaccines versus the variants right now. And the quicker we vaccinate, the less of a threat future will be.
And so on that particular point, then, when we talk about trying to vaccinate as many people as possible, and again, I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for people to understand. If we vaccinate as many people as possible, then what that does is it decreases the number of people that, if they get COVID, that then it might create a new mutation. If you have more people who are not vaccinated, which essentially, tell me if I'm right or not, we're giving the virus more opportunities to be able to go into a human body and then mutate and then create a new variant.
That's right. The virus can only mutate if it's inside somebody. It actually infected someone and it's replicating. So if you've got somebody who's vaccinated, there's a much lower risk of getting infected, the chances are the virus won't be able to hide inside, replicate, cause these mutations, and lead to new variants. So that's why more people vaccinated means fewer places that the virus can hide. And that means less of a chance that it's going to change and form a new dangerous variant.
So right now, we got people who are going to getting kids ready for school. You've got states in Texas and Florida where the governors there have ordered no mask mandates. You've got school districts like in Austin, Dallas, who are looking to oppose that. There's a parent out there right now, they're afraid. They don't know what to do. You have these conflicting messages going on. Are you saying what is your advice to any parent? Are you saying, hey, forget what these folks are saying, even if there's no mask mandate, you tell your child you're going to school with a mask on and you're going to keep it on the whole time? What advice as a Surgeon General are you giving to the parent? Forget the politicians, forget whether they for mask mandates or not. What are you saying to that parent if they're sending their kid to school, how they should be talking to their child about protecting themselves?
Well, it's such an important question. And I think about this first and foremost as a parent myself, Roland. I've got 2 small kids, and I know that for all of us parents out there, their number one thing in our life, number one priority is to make sure our kids are safe. And so I recognize this has got to be a scary time for some parents, especially if their schools aren't taking all the precautions that are necessary. But here's what you can do. Even if your school does not have mandates, make sure your child wears a mask and wears a high-quality mask, because that's going to be important for protecting them Make sure your child is also washing their hands regularly. If you want to send some hand sanitizer in a small bottle with your child as well, if you don't have easy access to the sink all the time, then do that as well. Make sure they use it often so that they don't pick up infection and then touch their face and transmit it to them. And also, whenever your child can be in outdoor settings, if there's an opportunity to be, in class outdoors, to do a session, outside, if the ventilation is good, that's a lower risk setting for the virus to spread. And finally, I would just say this: as a parent, I think it's really important for all of us as parents to be involved in what happens in our schools and making sure that principals and the school board hear your voice as a parent who's concerned about your kids, making sure they know that you believe that all these layers of precautions, from testing to better ventilation to wearing masks in school, is something that you're in favor of because it'll help keep the kids safe. That's really important for school boards and for teachers and administrators to know. So those are some things we can do, but I know that this is a tough time for parents, and there are unknowns out there. We're going to have to see how things go. But if you take all of these precautions that I'm mentioning, it will reduce the risk, and it will help keep the child safe.
And for folks who don't really understand this, you have been, in your family, have been extremely impacted by this COVID virus.
Yes, Roland, my family is like so many families. We've lost loved ones to COVID-19. We've lost 10 relatives, had many more who have gotten sick and thankfully have survived but have gone through rough times in the hospital. No one's been left untouched by this virus, and that includes my family. But it's also why, when I think about those family members, I'll tell you this: one common thing about 10 of them is that they didn't have the opportunity to get vaccinated that so many of us did. And I so wish that I could transport them forward in time to a moment where vaccines were a lot more available and easy to get. Some of my relatives died somewhere in India, but that was the common thread. And if they had the vaccine, I dare say that many, if not all of them, would be alive today. And so once we lose someone, we can't bring them back. We have an opportunity now to protect the people we love, and we can do that by encouraging them to get vaccinated.
Last question for you. We've been talking about communication, and now all of a sudden the Biden administration is now talking about doing targeted peace. I've been one of the folks who've been highly critical of the ad agencies that have been spending money out there. There's a phrase in advertising called spray and pray, and they just sort of just been throwing the money out there. And me and my partner said early on, you've got to target the resources to communities, to areas, to regions of the country where they're important. Is that actually happening now? Are you and the COVID response team in the White House, are y'all getting with the ad agencies, the people who are spending, frankly, millions and billions of taxpayer money to say, let's have a more effective use of how we're using the resources to reach the communities most in need? We had Terrence Woodbury on with Hit Strategies, who came out with polling data showing 52% of African Americans saying that they are not going to get the vaccine. That means that we need to be seeding Black-owned media and others getting that message out, because the messaging is really important. And I just think targeting is a lot different than just thinking, oh, let's just go broad, let's go general, and then hopefully people will get it. So is that sort of review, that analysis undergoing to make sure that those dollars are much better well spent?
For sure, Roland. I mean, you're absolutely spot on about the importance of targeting. And I know that the teams that are working on the media strategies are figuring out how to tailor the messages so that they reach the right audiences. But I'll also say, Roland, that a key part of targeting also, I think, has to take place in our community efforts. And that's been really our focus from the early days, is thinking, how do we mobilize the right folks in communities, provide them with the right supports, and recognizing that they are often far more effective messengers than those of us at the federal level may be. And making sure that we're targeting the right folks who are trusted is critical. I'll tell you one thing we know, Roland, is that about 80% of people say that they would like to talk to a doctor or nurse about their decision to get vaccinated. That means that we have to go to communities where vaccination rates are low, find the nurses and doctors who are trusted there, and make sure we support them in going out and talking to folks. So the community-driven targeted approach is equally as important as the ad-driven targeted approach. But overall, you're absolutely right that we've got to be tailored in how we make sure these messages and messengers are delivered.
All right, Surgeon General Murthy, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch and look forward to having you back on the show.
Well, thanks so much, Roland. Take care. Good to see you and stay safe.
Indeed, take care.
Folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Yo, this is Ziggy Marley. Catch my live performance on Seek.
Bon Jovi, and you're watching us on Seek.
What's going on? This Quavo Huncho, but right now you in the Huncho's world.
Please let the music play.
Of course, a couple of the products from the folks at Seek, they have their, of course, their great headsets. They're 360-degree audio sound. You can see the, this is, of course, the box right here. You can get the headphones in black and gold. Mustafa, that's a great color, of course. Us alphas, we love that. And they also have the headset in all gold. And so, again, you can get this. This is a black-owned company. Mary Spio is the founder of the product. They also have, of course, they also have their virtual headset. And so let me grab that right here. This is their VR headset where you can actually place your phone inside of the headset and you can check out their virtual reality content at seek.com. Use the promo code RMVIP21, RMVIP21. The proceeds of what you purchase comes back to support Roland Martin Unfiltered. Y'all know what we do on this show. We support black-owned businesses, and that's what we are about. So go to seek.com, use the promo code RMVIP21.
And there are people who want to wear their mask, get vaccinated. Then there are people who don't. But then there's a gray area, and I feel that in the Black community, I know I have family members who are still just uncertain about the vaccine. And now with the Delta variant, on the rampage and on the rise, they're reconsidering should they get the vaccine or not. But with a lot of misinformation, they're still they still are undecided. What could you say to people who are in that gray area, who are Black and brown, who are in those higher rates of potentially, people who are much more prone to diseases and so forth?
Yeah, and that's what exactly it, right? We are a much more prone community. The Black and brown community has been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic, and we will continue to be disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. I wholeheartedly understand. I get it as a Black woman, as a person in a Black woman's body who has had to engage with the healthcare system. I understand the history. I'm well aware of it. I understand the fear and the concerns that we as a people have, and those concerns are historic but legitimate. But the reality is that we are in a situation where the things that occurred during the Tuskegee experiment, or what happened to Henrietta Lacks, and all of the other common references that we use to refuse or dispute getting a vaccination, those things would not happen today. We have to stop thinking of ourselves as, guinea pigs. We have to stop thinking of the vaccination as being experimental. The people who were experimented on, they volunteered, right? And there were tens of thousands of people who volunteered for the greater good of society to be able to benefit from their personal sacrifice, from all of this research, all of these healthcare dollars, all of these federal dollars that were spent worldwide to ensure that we had a vaccine that was safe and effective to help prevent the spread and prevent people from being hospitalized and dying from this virus. So the vaccine has been well tested and well studied, and we're continuing to look at what are complications of the vaccines that might not have been predicted or might not have been picked up on during the original clinical trials. And so the fact that they are continuing to investigate, they're continuing to look, they're continuing to watch, and they're being so transparent, for me, is very reassuring. So when I'm talking to my Black and brown and indigenous brothers and sisters who died at rates that were much higher than our white counterparts, I say to us, listen, do you really trust a healthcare system that has continued to give us disparate healthcare, has continued to give us disparate outcomes? You trust that same healthcare system to save you when you get infected with COVID? Do you trust a healthcare system where in communities that are full of people that look like you and I and our brown and indigenous people, our brothers and sisters, where our hospitals tend to be grossly underfunded and understaffed and don't have access to research and experimental treatments, I don't trust going into that setting. I feel more comfortable and more confident in the fact that I'm fully vaccinated, and that if I choose to, I'm also a candidate to get a booster dose of this vaccine rather than take my chances with COVID-19. What will that virus do to me, and what will happen to me in a Black woman's body inside of a hospital in this country? I feel much more comfortable getting a vaccine than I do getting COVID-19. And I think, you know, because we've been more disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, and because we will be more disproportionately impacted by this whole anti-vax vaccine hesitancy movement, we really have to sit down and consider what's at stake. And as you said, we are a population in general that has far more stressors, far more comorbid conditions, is more likely to have the things that put us at high risk to be hospitalized and to die from COVID-19. So if I'm already at increased risk for the worst case scenario of this virus, I'm not going to put myself in a position where I'm then hospitalized and I'm having to fight for my life, having to advocate, having to beg and plead to get the same treatment as my white counterparts. I'm going to do everything that I can to prevent this infection. And for me, that's vaccination. For me, that's wearing my mask. I never took my mask off, even when the mandates went away for vaccinated people. And I continue to avoid crowds. I don't eat inside of restaurants. I really try to do everything as safely as I can to just mitigate the risk of getting this infection.
Folks, back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Seek.com, we are partnering with them, of course. We appreciate their support right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Check out a couple of their products that you can take advantage of.
Bon Jovi, you're watching us on Seek.
What's going on in this Quavo Huncho? But right now you in the Huncho's world.
Please let the music play.
Enjoy the Seek.com video by using one of their virtual reality headsets. All you do is just pop your phone right here into the VR headset and enjoy the content. You can also take advantage of their 360-degree headphones. These headphones here come in a couple of colors, black and gold, but then also all gold. And so you can check these out. If you want to use our promo code to get a discount, it's RMVIP21, RMVIP21. Then, of course, a portion of the proceeds comes back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, which allows for us to fund the show. And so this is a Black-owned company, and we certainly believe in supporting Black-owned companies. Mary Spiel is the founder. And so, again, go to Seek.com and use the promo code RMVIP21. UK lawyer Leslie Lawrenson, trained at Cambridge. This is what he posted on Facebook after he got COVID. He died 9 days later. But he posted 2 videos. Watch this.
I've got a very high temperature. This makes some pain, some shivers, a cold in my extremities. It feels exactly like a cold, maybe a little bit worse. When I stand up, I feel like I'm going to fall over. I can't remember if I've ever had that. Never have had a cold before. I hope I've got it. I hope it is COVID. Because I'd rather have the antibodies in my blood than take the jabs. Anyone who knows my opinion, anyone who has followed my comments on my Facebook page knows what I feel about the jab. So this is an update on the vlog that I made yesterday. I've already posted on Facebook that last night was pretty dreadful. The symptoms that I had at 11:30 had massively ramped up. I don't know how long, probably about 6 hours I spent in a fetal position, trying to block out the pain. It was every part of my body was racked with the pain. If these are things that we have to suffer, it's part of living. You have to trust your immune system, and if the alternative is that we live in fear, that we create a bogeyman out of something that hopefully I'm showing isn't anything to be afraid of for 99.9% of us. We've got to deal with that. We've got to make the government aware that that is how we feel. People get flu, people get colds, people endure it and then get on with their lives. That's the way it's always been. COVID-19, in my view, and from what I've experienced so far, is nothing different, nothing different. But the dangers of, potential dangers from taking the experimental jab, for me, are not worth that risk. I'd rather take my chances with...
Yep, he took his chances, Julian.
Yes, he did. And I'm sorry that people don't believe science, but I'm not sorry for them. Quite frankly, I won't say anybody deserves to die because that's on God. But what I would say is this idiot deserved to die. I mean, he flaunted, not only did he flaunt his disrespect for science, but he basically attempted to influence others, talking about an experimental jab. We know this experimental jab works. We know that COVID the immunization prevents death. So, if you want to die, do it on your own. Don't basically advertise this and attempt to influence others. We've got a group of folks here at Cal State LA who are talking about it's illegal to make them basically take a vaccination. The campus policy is, as of August 23rd, when classes start, everybody needs to be vaccinated and or have a medical excuse as to why not. And there's those who are talking about their free speech rights and their right to decline it. Well, but you don't have the right to expose me. You don't have the right to expose other people or children. And so that's really where we are. This is beyond, they would say you put your fist out as far until it hits somebody else. And then you basically are in trouble. All these people are in trouble, and they seem to relish it, Roland. That's what makes it so bad. They seem to relish it. And only occasionally these wives, when their crazy husbands didn't take it and then died, then these wives say, oh, everybody should take it. You should have told your husband that one night. You should have shut down, and said, look, until you get the vaccination, sleep in another room. I mean, we have influence, but many of us aren't using it.
Back to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All across the country, cases are exploding, and it is really happening in this, we call it this red belt. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas. Joining us right now is Dr. Alexia Gaffney. She's an infectious disease specialist. And just so people understand how maddening this is, Doc, you have the governor of Texas, this idiot, Greg Abbott, who now is threatening to pull the liquor license of restaurants that require COVID vaccination proof to enter the restaurant. I mean, but he's the same person begging neighboring states, hey, can you take free of ICU beds for citizens of Texas? I mean, that to me is the stupidity, where you have school districts and restaurants trying to be responsible, and this idiot, running after all these right-wing lunatics
is saying, oh, I'm going to snatch your liquor license. And in Austin, I just saw the story. 2 restaurants in Austin, Texas, have stopped doing it because the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission threatened to pull their liquor license.
Unbelievable. These people literally have blood on their hands, and they're completely unbothered by it. And apart from their political gain, it's like, what is the sense in all of this? Why would you put people's lives on the line? Why would you now put children's lives on the line? And why would you do it so willfully and so maliciously? What is being done here is absolutely dangerous. And when school districts and businesses try to work around these mandates, or really the lack of any sensible mandates, they're now being punished for it. It's despicable. Right now, we're seeing more pediatric hospitalizations for COVID-19 than we've seen in the entirety of the pandemic. And it is, as you said, it's in the red states. It's in the places in the country where there are the least amount of individuals vaccinated or fully vaccinated for COVID-19. And children 12 and under, or under 12, can't yet receive the vaccine. So in these southern states where children have already returned to school, where teachers may not be vaccinated, where it's unlawful to enforce a mask mandation, we're seeing schools shut down already within the first 2 weeks or within the first 3 days of school because of outbreaks and rampant exposure to COVID-19. And it is dangerous and it is life-threatening. This whole false notion that children were not at significant risk for COVID-19 infection in the early phase of the pandemic was simply true and unfounded. When COVID first hit the United States, we pulled our children out of school and we protected them. So we closed up the spaces where children most rampantly spread infection, and we protected them. So we did not see cases. And now people are trying to utilize or falsely utilize this data, give a false impression that children can sort of withstand COVID-19 infection, and we've thrown the children into the fire. Even though most children may do well with COVID-19 infection, it is completely senseless that any child should lose their life to this infection when it can be prevented, when it can be avoided. And they are pulling out all the stops to pretty much ensure that people will get sick, be hospitalized, and die from this infection. And it is senseless and it's dangerous, and it's very disheartening to see as a healthcare professional.
Here are 2 tweets that I think sums it up. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee announces executive order that allows parents to opt out of local mask mandates imposed by school boards and independent health departments. This happens on the same day that he activated the National Guard to help hospital care for COVID patients.
This is, cognitive dissonance at its finest. And why are we allowing the parents to choose for their children when the parents do not know any better? How can these parents decide that they know better than public health officials, that they know better than epidemiologists, that they know better than physicians, that they know better than scientists and actual researchers, not the people sitting on their toilet bowl Googling and watching Facebook videos and watching YouTube videos, but the people who have actually studied and understand how a pandemic works, how an epidemic works, how we can control the spread of infection. How we are deferring to parents who don't have their children's best interests at heart is beyond me. And in our communities, we've seen people have their children removed from their care or removed from their custody for lesser offenses. And we have these people who are willfully putting their children's life and health and well-being on the line to I don't even know why they're doing this. It's not to prove a point. It's really just to defy the people who have their best interests at stake. So now we have some folks who are really looking out for the best interests of everybody, and then we have other people who are just willfully defying that. And we're at a complete split, and it's costing people their lives. You have healthcare professionals who are burning out, especially in and around the Tennessee area. You have healthcare professionals saying, listen, we did all we could in the first wave of this pandemic, and we're doing all we can right now. But right now we're exhausted, we're burnt out, we're ready to quit, and we're just over it because all of this is preventable. And so it's literally like a civil war that's going on between those who are trying to protect the health and well-being of both the vaccinated people and the unvaccinated people, and those who are vulnerable but not yet candidates for vaccine, i.e. our children, and some of the most vulnerable adults in our population. And you have the people on the other side who just don't frankly seem to give a damn. There's not a better way to say it.
Dr. Gaffney, we always appreciate it. Thank you so very much. One of the reasons why we continue to have black health experts on here and not what I call all of these Google physicians.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you for having me on, Roland.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. You do the same. Avis, on that particular point, I'm really sick of these people who don't even know what the hell is in an Advil. But when their damn head hurts, they'll take an Advil, but all of a sudden they want to question a COVID vaccine.
I mean, really, for real. It's so infuriating because it's not like we can just take these people and plop them on an island someplace so that they could just infect each other and have a good old time with spreading around the Delta variant and every other variant that's going to come as a result of their stupidity. Okay? No, unfortunately, they're mixed among us. And when you have them in governor's offices, where they are literally, I would believe, honestly, they're just playing this for their own political gain. To me, it just boils down to nothing less than plain evil. Because this type of ridiculousness, where on the one hand, you're going to undermine the success of businesses for you to make a political point, while at the same time you're putting people's lives in danger and asking other states to clean up your mess for you, is absolutely ridiculous. You know, I really hope people are paying attention and somehow are able to overcome all the challenges that's going on with the voting laws in Texas right now to be able to get this complete, insane evildoer and any others like him out of office.
Omakongo, I get a kick out of the folks who say, oh, absolutely not. I'm not taking a vaccine. And I had somebody who was saying that for me, look, I got God protected me, and the person responded, so when you get sick, you going to the church?
That's a good one. That's a good one. Look, the way I see it, I say, you know, God sent us the scientists and the doctors that helped create the vaccine. And so it's like, where do you really want to draw the line as it relates to how much you're going to look to the sky, you know, for assistance? At the end of the day, it's really sad because what Dr. Gaffney said, which is really important for us to pay attention to, is the fact that kids were generally protected last year because we kept them home. Now we're just throwing them out there. And like they say, when two elephants battle, it's the grass that gets trampled. And it's really unfortunate. And I think that right now what we're seeing is that these governors, these Congress folks, these guys, if they have kids, none of them, their kids are going to the schools that are going to be affected by it. They're in private schools that have mask mandates, and they're completely separated from everything that's going on. As Dr. Weaver said, these people are evil, and I don't know if enough voters who support them are going to wake up. And if we don't get this voting rights issue fixed, these guys are going to end up staying in power for the long term, and we're going to have more deaths. And so we need to get up. We need to act up. We need to hit the streets. And I commend all of the businesses that are out there trying to make the right decisions, who are fighting these governors. And yes, Texas Supreme Court sided with Abbott. This might go to the higher courts, and I'm hoping that, given some of the things that we saw with Coney Barrett, we might be able to get some justice with the Supreme Court to some of these cases, make it there. Fingers crossed, but it shouldn't have to get this far.
Tell you, it's crazy, Mike Brown, and I swear, I'm telling you, I was at the Kim Babyface Music Soul Child concert. I dropped in Houston, and the sister comes up to me from Arizona, and she's like, why won't you have people on your show who give the other side of the story? I said, I'm sorry, what's the other side? She says, well, I'm not vaccinated. I said, well, first of all, back the hell up. Her ass unvaccinated, got a mask dangling from her wrist. I said, I need you to back your ass up. And she says, well, you know, I have a pharmacist, and he doesn't believe in the vaccine. I said, well, first of all, he ain't a doctor. I said, that's the first thing. But she said, it's the other side of the story. I said, yeah, death That's the flip side. I'm telling you, it's been tripping me out, the folks I've been running into. But I literally told her, back your ass up. You ain't going to be in my face talking to me about you ain't taking the COVID vaccine with a mask dangling from your damn wrist. Back the hell up. Go on, back up.
I find it interesting. I'm wondering, clearly, I think we saw some of the footage last week, and I think you may have even shown some of the footage in Tennessee, and there's like a school board meeting, and the people in the parking lot were obviously were yelling at folks that wanted to support the mask mandate. And I'm wondering this correlation between, I hate to assume, but I'm assuming those were Trump supporters in the parking lot. And then with black folks that are not Trump supporters, that are still believing in the same conspiracies that the Trump supporter is. I mean, it's very interesting to me how that has occurred in this political dynamic. I mean, for example, I don't even know if some of these Trump supporters know, or even black folks that are believing in some of these conspiracy theories, Trump got the shot. He got vaccinated. Yep. He wanted to protect himself. Why he doesn't tell the world that, or doesn't do his own PSA? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we all know because they like talking to stupid people. That's what they like doing.
Folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Seek.com, we are partnering with them, of course. We appreciate their support right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Check out a couple of their products that you can take advantage of.
Bon Jovi, you're watching us on Seek.
What's going on? This Quavo Huncho, but right now you in the Huncho's world.
Please let the music play.
Enjoy the Seek.com video by using one of their virtual reality headsets. All you do is just pop your phone right here into the VR headset and enjoy the content. You can also take advantage of their 360-degree headphones. These headphones here come in a couple of colors, black and gold, but then also all gold. And so you can check these out. If you want to use our promo code to get a discount, it's RMVIP21, RMVIP21. Then, of course, a portion of the proceeds comes back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, which allows for us to fund the show. And so this is a black-owned company, and we certainly believe in supporting black-owned companies. Mary Spiel is the founder. And so, again, go to Seek.com and use the promo code RMVIP21.
My next guest is not one of those stupid people, but he does like to call out stupid people. Y'all, joining us right now here at Spanish Hills Golf and Country Club is Dio Hughley.
What's up, man?
Dio, good to see you.
Good to see you too,
I've
bro.
been following you on Instagram where you've been trying to be very patient with some of these
simple ass niggas. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying. It's at a certain point, like in the beginning, I can understand a level of reticence. All the questions that. But now we have enough data for you to be making a decision. And if your decision is no decision, then I can respect that. But there are a couple of things you need to do. One is to stay away from people, and to accept the fact that you are a drain on the system. So I think the funny thing I see about people who aren't going to take the vaccine, they don't go to Facebook when they get sick. They don't go to Instagram when they get sick. They go right to the hospital, and they become a drain on the society. And I think that if you have the courage of your convictions, stay, like it's all these people. You won't wear a mask, a guy will protect you, but you don't have a problem carrying a gun. Like, what is he, busy that day? And so it just doesn't make sense. And for our people, for us, it's killing us disproportionately and largely because of misinformation. Now, I got sick. I got my family sick. My son still
you got COVID. You got COVID.
I got COVID. Yeah. I passed out on stage. I was suffering from my son got sick. He still has to go to a cardiologist. Everybody at my work, there's one of my co-workers that had blood pressure issues from then till now. So you almost kill somebody, and it changes your perspective. I had long haul COVID so bad that, Roland, I'm gonna tell you, it was many days I thought I was gonna punch my ticket. I was like, I'm not gonna live my life like this. And so all these people who think that your motivation is just that you're paid, as asinine as that you're paid by a pharmaceutical company. How about you got sick, you sicken people you love, and you would rather that people didn't have the same experiences you did. Experiences isn't the best teacher, it's just the hardest.
I showed the video last week. There was a lawyer in the UK, white guy. He goes, well, I'm glad I got COVID. I'm glad I got COVID so I can show y'all this is not that big of a deal. It's just like the flu. So he records these videos, and then he recorded one of the videos. He says, well, last night I was in lots of pain. He says I was curled up in the fetal position for 6 hours. And I was sitting there thinking, I've had the flu. I ain't never been curled up in the fetal position for 6 hours. Right. That sounds painful as hell.
Well, it was
9 days later, his ass was dead.
Well, I think that, but people refuse. People often they cite the Tuskegee experiment, and the families, the descendants of those people came on and said, so it's nothing that's going to satisfy some people.
Dude, I had one of these ignorant, super weave YouTube historians dogging me because I had Dr. Ebony Hilton on. We were talking about Tuskegee, right? And we're discussing it, and I said, y'all, I went to the museum in Tuskegee. Right. They made it clear they were not injected. They actually were not treated.
Like Henrietta Lacks.
And all these folks were sitting here, oh, Roland Martin, you wrong about it. We live streamed the event from Howard University of those Tuskegee descendants, and folks sitting there, well, I don't know why you saying that.
At the same time Tuskegee was happening, black and brown people all over the country were being immunized for polio, right? At the same time that happened, right? So it's really it's really math. In order to get herd immunity, you need 80 to 90% of the population. Since they only comprise 58%, and we are 13%, and Latins are 30-some%, you need that collective, because there are only two viruses. Well, there's only one virus that has been eradicated, and that was the polio vaccine. And it took 184 years to do it, and that was because they had to immunize the entire world.
There you go.
And they killed it. So you have to immunize. Right now, these same people who are talking about all these things that they're not going to do are protected by vaccines. The same vaccine that Jonas Salk, a variation of that, that he invented in 1954, my granddaughter took who was 3 months old, who was 5 months old, took. So, and the reason we don't have those things, the mumps, the measles, the polio running rampant. Matter of fact, polio is in two places, in Afghanistan and it's in Pakistan. And they're going to, and once they get rid of it there, they'll eradicate it. So you're protected by the very vaccines. If you want to leave and go back to Africa, you're going to take a bunch of vaccines.
Hey, Doc,
if you want to go to school, you're going to take a bunch. So it's
you will not go into that country.
You can't. Well, you can if you, well, I don't know how you think you can't go to college. You can't. There's so many things you can't do. And really, it's getting to a point where. So, you know, the company I work for, Friday, made a mandate that you had to be vaccinated. And I think that once the FDA approves one of these vaccines, companies are going to have cover, and they're going to say, you got to take it. And then we'll see how convicted you are. Because instead of ramping up your immune system, you better brush up on your resume. I hope CMOS is hiring. Because it's
I had a brother, we stopped by the restaurant. I was in Houston Friday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, my aunt passed away. We had a funeral, and we went to dinner. And and 6 of us, 3 of them doctors, 2 emergency room doctors.
Right.
So the brother comes up, waiter, no mask, and so he's talking. I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was like, first question, are you vaccinated? He says, no. I said, your ass need a mask. I got up, went to the manager. I said, first of all, do you require your waiters to be vaccinated? He said, no. I said, well, you damn sure need to require them at least be wearing masks. Right. I said,
that was in Houston, right?
In Houston. And he said,
but don't you know that the apparently Corona does not exist in it doesn't exist in Texas or Florida. So I think it doesn't. Apparently it doesn't. But.
Because Abbott and DeSantis just swear it doesn't. And I made the manager go get that brother a mask, and I pulled him aside. I said, he said, boy, I got some questions. I went, 1, 2, 3. Here are 3 black doctors who can answer any question you have, bro.
You know, and I'm not. Ultimately, it's this for me. My motivation is what my motivation has been when someone is slain by the police. My motivation is what my motivation has been when we talk about voting, because I think we pretty much have the same kind of overall perspective. My perspective is what it has been now. I'm trying to do, and I'm sure you are trying to do the best we can for our people with the situation we have. ultimately, there are facts you cannot dispute. 97% of the people who are in the hospital are unvaccinated.
98.
Okay. Lollapalooza had a big festival. 385,000 people showed up. 200 people got sick.
1,000 showed up outside of the Milwaukee arena where they won the NBA championship. 500 got COVID.
See, and so and all those, and the requirement at Lollapalooza was that those people be vaccinated. 90% of them be vaccinated, and the others show a negative COVID test. Contrast with Rolling Loud and see the only place where there's more virus in Florida is Louisiana and Botswana, literally. So people can have their. My question is this: we know that there's no debating that the virus actually exists and it is causing a great deal of harm. What is your action? What is your response? Because when you ramp up your immune system, that doesn't immunize you against disease. You may do better if you get a virus.
Right.
You might have a better outcome.
A brother Leary told me, I'm drinking a lot of green tea.
Okay.
I went,
okay.
Okay.
So, it's really simple for me. You almost kill your son and see if it... All these people have these religious epiphanies or these professional epiphanies. When you see your son has to go to a cardiologist every 6 months because of something you did, or you see one of your coworkers struggling with long-haul COVID, tell me how you feel.
Right.
And if you're inhumane, if that doesn't move you. And I think that a lot of people are seeing a lot of suffering and pretending like it isn't real. And and we don't have the luxury. The American life expectancy last year dropped, what, a year?
Mm-hmm.
Ours, African Americans, dropped 3 years. So we've lost 3 years because of a pandemic you say doesn't exist.
Right.
Our life expectancy has dropped 3 years. So these are things that are real. And as far as these people want to come on your show, I'm never going to let you on my show to lie. I ain't going to do it. I don't care what you call me.
Doc, that's it.
I don't need you to. Here's the thing. I'm not going to give you the other side of somebody who ain't a professional. You're not a virologist, an epidemiologist. You a dude that talks slick on Instagram. I don't. And you've lied, and you literally lied so much you can't even tweet from your own name because you've spread so much misinformation that you're a known liar. Why would I? Why do I need to?
Right.
What is it we need to know? If there are 93 million people who haven't taken the vaccine, what is so special about your ass that I got to have you on? Right. They could lie too.
Right.
So and this notion that they're going to bully you or call you names, I don't give a damn what you call me. I'm a grown man, and I'm going to say what I believe. There's a reason I have a platform. There's a reason you have, and the reason you don't. Here's the reason those people don't have platforms. Because the minute they start telling lies, they get took off.
Right.
No one can keep them on.
Right.
No one. Now, I suggest that they do that to us. If you call the people that put us on, and if we are lying, have us taken off. If we're spreading bald-faced, harmful falsehoods, I suggest you call them. But you know why you won't? Because we don't. There's no alternative to the truth but a lie.
I had somebody who literally said, "Man, why you? I don't like when you always interrupting people." I said, "No. When folks start lying, then I'm gonna correct them at that very point. I can't let you lie and then go,
Because it's like they're not. There is no opposite. If we know that this exists, we know that 4 million people worldwide have died. 200 million people were exposed to the virus. There literally is so much virus in some of the places in this country that only places in Africa have more. And the only reason they have more is because they don't have the access to resources.
Boom.
We would be a third world country.
They don't have access. They are standing in line, walking miles for that vaccine.
Right. And so ultimately, I do know this. I was frightened when I took my whole family at one time. What kind of man would I be if I've admitted the things I've done in terms of indiscretions in my personal life? If I've been open book about that, why would I lie about my motivations for giving? Why am I going? And who are you? I should lie to. If I ain't gonna lie to my woman, why would I lie to you?
Right.
I want the best for you. If you don't want the best for you, I get it. But I think you have an obligation to make a reasonable decision. I tell you what, when you get sick, find out what address those people you sent to Facebook, find out where their hospital is and go there, and stop going to hospitals where we need the resources for people who are in accidents.
Doc, I'm the same way. Back
to that Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Seek.com, we're partnering with them, of course. We appreciate their support right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Check out a couple of their products that you can take advantage of.
Bon Jovi, and you're watching us on C.
What's going on? This Quavo Huncho, but right now you in the Huncho's world.
Please let the music play.
Enjoy the Seek.com video by using one of their virtual reality headsets. All you do is just pop your phone right here into the VR headset and enjoy the content. You can also take advantage of their 360-degree headphones. These headphones here come in a couple of colors, black and gold, but then also all gold. And so you can check these out. If you want to use our promo code to get a discount, it's RMVIP21, RMVIP21. Then, of course, a portion of the proceeds comes back to Roland Martin Unfiltered, which allows for us to fund the show. And so this is a black-owned company, and we certainly believe in supporting black-owned companies. Mary Spiel is the founder. And so, again, go to Seek.com and use the promo code RMVIP21. I really love this one. If you watch Fox News and you got crazy people like Sean Hannity, Maria Bartiromo, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham spreading all their nonsense about COVID, then the idiots on Fox and Friends like Ainsley Earnhardt, who literally said today that, oh, when you take Regeneron, that's like getting the vaccine. No, it's not, idiot. It's not. So check this out. Fox News is requiring that all employees provide their vaccination status today in a collective database. Oh, yeah, and these are the same people who are against vaccine passports. In a statement sent to all staff, Fox News urged employees to enter vaccination information into a portal and have implemented a mask mandate for public spaces with the buildings. The statement says the following: Dear colleagues, as all of you know, the health and safety of our employees has been our priority at Fox News Media since the start of the global pandemic 17 months ago. Whether at work or home, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a tremendous impact on all our lives. Here are some of the steps we are currently taking given the rise in COVID cases nationwide and the spread of the Delta variant. We have asked all employees, whether on site as part of our essential workforce or working remotely, to upload their vaccination status into Workday. This is being done for space planning and contract tracing purposes in conjunction with CDC, state, city health and safety guidelines. All employees must enter their status no later than today, August 17th, by close of business. Number two, last week, we reinstated our on-site COVID testing program every Monday and Thursday for select essential employees due to their work environment within our New York offices. These employees have been contacted and will be required to test at least once weekly due to their role at Fox News Media, regardless of vaccination status. In our New York offices, masks remain optional for vaccinated individuals, but are strongly encouraged in public areas throughout the building. However, we are requiring employees to wear a mask in small, confined spaces with limited opportunities for social distancing and where there are multiple employees, including control rooms. All employees and vendors are required to complete a daily screening ahead of reporting to work. At many locations, you will be asked to display either a Work Care Go to Work green screen or a Fox Clear Pass to a security representative upon entering the building or workspace. So, Robert, it's hilarious to see all of these Fox people going nuts about mask mandates when their own company has one.
Speaking of which, I'll be on Fox at 12:45 tonight, so make sure you guys tune in for that.
Hell
but
no,
you're right,
hell
Roland.
no.
Look, you're right, Roland. And what I don't understand about the people who are against the mask on the right at this point, last year they made the argument that all of this was to be against Donald Trump. That the whole point of the mask mandates, of the lockdowns, was to hurt Donald Trump and make sure he couldn't get reelected. Well, now the election is over. Joe Biden is in charge. Democrats are running the ship now, and it's still here. Remember, they made that argument. I bet you the day after the election, the virus will just go away magically. It did not. So what exactly did Cassie Abella to justify their thought that somehow this is still a conspiracy theory against them, even though there are literally 600,000 fewer people in this country than there were a year ago? The entire thing does not make sense. But beyond those people on that side of the aisle, I do think we need to have more work to do in our communities, where we're still looking at around 31% vaccination rates in a community that has some of the highest comorbidities of any communities in the country. We have to work on getting the proper information out. We have to work on getting those federal dollars to push these vaccination drives, to push the advertising, to push the nonprofits that can get the vaccine penetration, because we cannot be falling into the same trap as the MAGAs on the other side.
Folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Football bans and one of the best fan experiences in the country. The Cricket BX SWAC Challenge kickoff returns to Atlanta on August 28th, along with special guests, College Game Day. Then Alcorn State takes on North Carolina Central with conference bragging rights on the line. Center Park Stadium is the place to be on August 28th. Come tailgate all day before enjoying a primetime matchup on the gridiron. You don't want to miss this. Check out MEACSWACChallenge.com for more information.
And of course, we'll be live in Atlanta August 27th and 28th, supporting the SWAC MEAC Challenge in partnership with Coca-Cola. Friday, we'll broadcast the show from the Atlanta Braves Baseball Stadium, interviewing officials with the SWAC and the MEAC, plus the university presidents. On Saturday, August 28th, we'll be broadcasting live from the Coca-Cola fan zone outside of the stadium. And then, of course, we'll be live streaming the halftime show and the performance after the game. So check out Roland Martin Unfiltered from the SWAC MEAC Challenge in Atlanta. And don't forget, the game airs at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN on Saturday, August 28th. The NFL, they're making it clear players need to get vaccinated, or they're going to have to go into a protocol program. Atlanta Falcons, they're the first team to have a 100% team vaccinated. How did that happen? They cut 2 unvaccinated players. Here's the deal. If you're unvaccinated, you now have to wait 5 days before another team is eligible to pick you up. So if you're an NFL player and you choose not to get vaccinated, you might be out of a job. Fair or not? Let's talk to Ben Watson, longtime NFL player, played tight end in the NFL for several teams. Ben, glad to have you on the show.
Good to be with you.
You have coaches like Ron Rivera, who's been really pissed off with players not getting vaccinated. The NFL's also made it clear they're not going to do what they did last year. Players come up positive, they're not delaying games. This could actually cost teams wins if they have to forfeit games as well. What do you make of the NFL making it perfectly clear if they're taking a very hard stance when it comes to vaccinations in the NFL season?
Well, both the NFLPA as well as the NFL and all players, look, all the cities have a vested interest in having a full NFL season. Look, last year there was no vaccine. But last year, no game was canceled. A couple were postponed. Nobody missed any game checks. That was a big thing that came out early as well. So not much has changed from a protocol standpoint. But now what the NFL is saying is if you have not gotten the COVID-19 shot, you will have certain freedoms. You won't have freedoms that others have that have gotten it. And so what we've seen, look, I'm proud of the NFL players, quite frankly, because when you look at the vaccination rate before the season started, so go back about a month, about 85% or so of players had gotten one of the COVID vaccine shots. Now, about a month later into training camp, 92% of players. And so they're trending higher than the general public. Players are getting vaccinated. Of course, there are some that aren't. And I, for one, say, you know what? It's your choice. We will always say you have a choice. As a union, we say, look, we're going to protect players. We're going to do our best to provide you with the education. But at the end of the day, you have a choice. But it's going to be more difficult for you moving forward if you have not taken the shot.
And look, this is what I keep saying. Yes, individuals have choices, and your choice may very well determine whether you have a job.
Well, it's funny you brought up the Falcons. Now, I will venture to say, depending on who that player is, I've been in the NFL for 16 years, depending on who that player is, they could get vaccinated or not get vaccinated and not get cut. And so I'll venture to say that those who were removed from the team, the Atlanta Falcons, were probably on the lower end of the depth chart. But yes, even coming in, look, it's difficult for teams and staffs to deal with this. You have vaccinated players and coaches that are coming up testing positive, unvaccinated testing positive. And this needs to be a safe environment. So if you haven't been vaccinated, you'll be subjected to many of the same protocols as last year. Contact tracing, mask wearing, social distancing. If you are vaccinated, you have different freedoms. And so as the country goes, you will see the NFL go. And as you mentioned before, cases are skyrocketing. And so it's a very real and present danger, but it's also an evolving virus that we don't have all the answers to.
Well, how about this here? You have also coaches. NFL announced that Tier 1 personnel must be vaccinated. Well, the Minnesota Vikings, they fired Rick Dennison, who was their assistant coach, because he refused the COVID-19 vaccine. Again, Dennison had a choice. He made his choice. They said goodbye.
And also what's specific about that is that coaches are not unionized. And so when you have a union like the NFLPA, we can negotiate with the league. We can protect our players. We can agree on certain protocols, which are the protocols that are in place right now to prevent these sorts of outbreaks, so to speak. But coaches don't have that. And so you see a coach getting fired simply because he didn't take a vaccine.
One of the things, we're bringing in a panel here, Reese. One of the things I think is important here, that what we're seeing, when Ben talked about you're seeing the increase in people getting the vaccine, it's because when they realized their jobs were on the line. Same thing happened. Look, people are sitting here, is the federal government going to issue a mandate? Guess what? Corporations finally said, we're not waiting on y'all. So when Disney and Walmart and law firms and other companies start saying, you ain't vaccinated, you can't work here, the hospitals did it. I mean, I see these people out here protesting who work at hospitals saying this is unfair. And the hospital's like, what the hell are you talking about? We're the ones who are in the medical business. You get people who work at nursing homes who are complaining, same thing, but we've seen so many people who died of COVID who were in nursing homes. This is what happens when private business, when big business says, okay, y'all can fight over those mask mandates and all sort of stuff along those lines. Even all those yahoos on Fox News, we discussed it yesterday, they're running their mouths on the air about mask mandates. Guess what? The company that cuts their checks got a mask mandate. Fox News yelling about COVID passports. Every person who works for Fox News got to put their information in a database to show and prove they're vaccinated. So it's amazing how folks run their mouths, but when the company says this is how we rolling, you can make your choice. Keep your job or get that shot.
And it's quite disingenuous, honestly. If you have people that are vaccinated, people that have taken the shot, but then they will continue to talk about the fact that others maybe shouldn't. Also, I would venture to say that this is a result of some education, because especially in the NFL, you have very healthy individuals. You have individuals who have played an entire season last year without missing game checks, without missing games, even though there was no shot to take. So the protocols that were in place were clearly working. You also have the history. We talk about it all the time. There's a history when it comes to medicine, and especially the Black community, and how we have been mistreated, how we have been impacted unfairly, disproportionately, all the way going back to medicine. So there's a hesitancy that's there, but also there's the education. You wait, you listen, you learn, you talk to other people, you talk to the experts, you see the things that are happening, and then you make your personal decision. So specifically, you start to see that this rise. Yes, part of it is because many players did not want to have to deal with some of these inconveniences, getting tested every day, those sorts of things. But there's also the impact of, okay, I've done my research, I've studied, I've talked to my family, I've made a decision that's best for me. I made it because I wanted to do it, not because I was immediately forced to without me having any agency. And I will always stand up for a player having agency. That's also what the NFLPA will always stand for.
I think, Reese, I think a lot of those players did do that, but also I think that threat of not getting that check had an impact as well.
I mean, let's be honest. The honor system didn't work, right? I mean, people were given 8 months to make the choice to get the vaccine, to do what's in the best interest for their health and for the best interest of the country. That's why we have a concept called public health. I know people are all up on their high horse about personal choice. Well, unfortunately, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Your personal choices impact everybody else around you. And so I think that everybody had as much patience as they possibly could, but when they saw that we were starting to plateau when it came to people taking the vaccine, and now there's a surge of the variant, the Delta variant, and that's not the last variant that we're going to have, and people were not being persuaded, and actually they were doubling and tripling down on not taking the vaccine. These corporations and the government had to step in and say, listen, take the vaccine or you're going to have to suffer the consequences. We're not going to subsidize your obstinance when it comes to believing that you don't have to take the vaccine. If you want to spend a whole bunch of money on sea moss and vitamins and increasing your immune system, more power to you, but you're not going to be able to, without consequence, go into the emergency room and increase the medical costs for everybody in our company when it comes to corporations and their healthcare, because they have to pay for that. And the same thing with the government. And so we tried the honor system with the mask, and all kind of people dropped the mask, and we saw a resurgence of COVID. And so unfortunately, you have to twist people's arms to do something that is really in their best interest. And some people will disagree that it's in their best interest. But even if you don't feel like it's in your personal best interest, I think it's indisputable that it's in the best interest of the country, that we have as many people vaccinated as possible, that we're taking as many preventative measures in trying to stunt this disease from taking off even more, and, you know, protecting those who actually have no choice but to not take the vaccine, like kids and like people with certain medical conditions. And so if you have to twist people's arms, you know, hey, I think the country is actually still mild compared to other places like Canada, which just recently instituted a ban on air or public transportation if you are not vaccinated. They're not even offering accommodation for you having a rapid test. If you're not vaccinated, you're not getting on a plane. You're not going on public transportation, period. So I still think that when it comes to America, hey, maybe you can find a place that's not for vaccination that you can work at. You don't have to work for the federal government. You still have a choice, but your choice has consequences, period.
Well, we had, of course, we saw this couple out of Florida, Adrian, who were arrested. They had a fake vaccination card when they flew to Hawaii. They their ass in jail right now. So you see that
That's
happening.
forging a federal document.
Huh?
That's forging a federal document.
Well, and I think that's the thing that people don't understand. You run around talk about your little fake vaccine cards. You are violating the law.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen multiple stories of even healthcare professionals producing CDC cards either fraudulently, like not having received a vaccine, but being given a CDC card, or reproducing them and selling them illegally on things like eBay. Like, really? You think the federal government isn't out here monitoring the transactions of false documentation around vaccination? You know, and it's not just employers that are jumping on the responsibility bandwagon. Insurance companies are now making you pay a larger portion of your hospital bill if you're unvaccinated and end up in the ICU with COVID complications, which I think is a reasonable. And look, I'm not the one who's going to be banging a drum for big insurance companies, but this is a reasonable. This is a reasonable carve out that they're making, because these folks are taking risks not just with their lives, but with everybody else's lives, and using up valuable healthcare resources in a time where it's not where folks are suffering from things that aren't just COVID.
We also are seeing this impact in education, Greg. There are a lot of concerned professors out there as well when it comes to students returning to the classroom, kind of protocols that they actually have in place as well. The folks are putting out all sorts of things, talking about there were, you were having different, strikes at Spelman. I reached out to Spelman. They said that it's actually not happening. They laid out exactly what's going on about the fall classes. They will have in-class learning, but they have mandatory vaccinations requiring COVID-19 testing, symptom track and monitoring, contact tracing, mandatory mask wearing, frequent hand washing and disinfecting, physical distancing, isolation and quarantine measures. But again, you're a professor of these universities are requiring folks to be back in class, just like what's happening in NFL. People who are operating in close quarters, it gets unwieldy in terms of what you're able to control and who to control.
Yeah, I think it's almost impossible to manage, Roland, quite frankly. I mean, this November will mark 30 years since Magic Johnson announced he was HIV positive, and we all remember that and the shockwaves it sent through. Whether it be Kirk Cousins with the Vikings or somebody else, I suspect, Brother Watson, it's going to take a superstar getting COVID, maybe even dying, to finally send a message in what was a $16 billion profit industry in 2019 that made only $12 billion last year, the NFL. I mean, it's entertainment. And, I've made the choice not to watch a snap since Kaepernick. But, yeah, I taught my first class over at Howard Law School last night in person. And I can tell you right now, I don't see how any entity, any of the 400 colleges that have required that all of us be vaccinated, and most of those colleges and universities, by the way, in states that were voted for Biden in the election. So most of my colleagues at HBCUs, most of our colleagues, brother, since you're on the faculty at Fisk, are in the southern states, in those American apartheid states, being forced back. And I've been talking to a lot of my colleagues, and I'll tell you right now, whether it be students, staff, or faculty at any of these schools, especially our black schools, there's no way to enforce everybody all the time. The best you could do with all the resources would be kind of spot checks, temperature checks, maybe everybody's vaccination status has to be uploaded. And anybody who's been to the AUC knows the configuration of those schools. Spelman's behind a gate. They can do probably more than anybody. However, what you're talking about is a consortium. Any student in the AUC can take a class at any of the schools. And as a member of the faculty who, for the first time since last March, stepped into a classroom last night masked up with the students who are masked up, I can tell you right now, not only was I nervous, not only are they nervous, but this is far from being settled. And I don't expect any administration to be able to give any policy statement at any university that will encompass the desires and the will of the faculty for two reasons. Number one, the faculty is never of one mind. And number two, particularly at black schools, organizing faculty becomes a difficult proposition. That having been said, I suspect that the situation at Spelman, at Clark, at Morehouse, at Howard, at Claflin, at all the schools, all HBCUs, is going to be like at those other schools, the Georgetowns, the Stanfords, wherever. It's going to be a fluid standard, because I read the piece that Spelman had on its website. It's 20-some pages. And on page 2, it talks about extraordinary circumstances. None of us knows what this is going to do next week, the week after. And so I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to have to piece this out week by week, brother. But all of us are nervous and all of us are concerned, particularly those of you who send your children to us to be educated. Believe me, we're all on pins and needles, brother.
And Adrian, go ahead.
Yeah, I also work in higher ed. That's my hat. I'm not wearing that hat today, but it is a hat that I wear. And these policies have to be fluid because ultimately the public health advisories that are coming from the cities and the counties and where each of these universities are is fluid. It's based on infection rates. It's based on hospitalization rates and availability of ICU beds. There's a whole lot of factors that go into what create those advisories from the public health department. So, just an anecdotal story from our campus, we had signs up. We were already to tell everyone, look, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask and things are great. And then literally 5 days after we got every single sign up on campus, a new advisory hit and we had to go back and replace all of those signs. So you got to keep a booklet. What sign are we using this week?
The thing here, Ben, I think that, again, what you're seeing is that I think you're seeing the NFL, you're seeing teams, just like you're seeing in other areas, where folks are saying, we're going to be in control of our own destiny. So we're not going to wait, because when it comes to anything governmental, you're now dealing with political ideology. You're not dealing with political parties. You're not dealing with the base and people and their feelings. And so folks are saying, hey, you know what? Look, I've had folks get an attitude when I required vaccination for my company here. Here's my whole deal. Go start your own shit. No, I mean, I'm sorry, because at the end of the day, I've got 15 people to protect. Mm-hmm. And those 15 people have husbands, wives, girlfriends, partners, children. They've got other relatives. And so you have to make decisions that's actually best for you. And if and again, I love the people who keep hollering choice, like Tank, sent out, he put up this video and he got his ass dragged where he was talking about choice and stuff along those lines and, and all this sort of stuff like this. This is what is now on his Instagram page. Go to my computer. My personal decisions are none of your business. Enjoy the music, The General. Well, guess what? When you start running your mouth out there and then people respond, just like Kirk Cousins, they responded and he lost an endorsement from a hospital there in Minnesota. When you had Jay Cutler, who ran his mouth about he didn't like mask mandates, and Uber Eats said, holla at you later. And here's the deal, Ben, it's choices. And guess what? Those companies are going to have a choice whether to be in business with you based upon your choices.
They do,
No,
and
absolutely.
choices always have consequences. I mean, I have 7 children, and so my wife and I tell them all the time, your choices actually have consequences. Those 7 children, well, 5 of them are school age, and the school they went to 2 weeks ago, before school started, there was an optional mask mandate. And then before school started, it changed into a mandatory mask mandate for several weeks, and it's going to be fluid. That's the thing. I think that part of the frustration that so many of us have is that we just don't have the solid, concrete information that we're used to having. I'll take it to the NFL. A lot of players were tweeting and upset a couple weeks ago when the NFL made that new memo, because the expectation was, if I get this shot, I won't be tested, I won't get the virus, I won't be able to pass the virus. And as we've seen, people who are vaccinated can get the virus. Their symptoms, however, are nowhere near as what they will be if you didn't have it. They can also pass the virus. And so that's where we are right now. And I think you're absolutely right when you say that companies, corporations, they have to take care of the people that they're entrusted with taking care of. They have to make the right choice at the right time, which will allow their business to continue. And right now, that's to tell people to get the vaccine. But the frustrating part is that the frustrating part is that it's been so politicized in the beginning, which it should not have been. And also, there's such an evolving recommendation coming from the experts that people many times have a certain distrust, and it makes it difficult for those making decisions to make them.
Well, let me say this here, and Ben, feel free to pass it on. If there's any NFL player who is confused or concerned about the details, tell me you should watch this damn show. Here's why. Here's why, and this is very basic for anybody who's watching. And I've heard other people talk about, oh, well, this was told and then things changed. Yes, because that's what viruses do. Right. Viruses wreak havoc. They create changes. And the thing is, last night we had Dr. Graves from North Carolina A&T on, who specifically explained what happens when a number of people chose not to get vaccinated, how the virus mutates when it hops from one body to the other, and how it is forever changing. A virus is constantly trying to figure out a new way to hurt more people based upon the previous person. And so I think part of the problem here is that there are a lot of Americans, white, black, Latino, Asian, Native American, I don't care who they are, a lot of people. This is what is a problem with, I think, for a lot of us Americans. We want certainty. If I take this shot, I'm cured, 100%, I'm warding everything off. Nope. Then they're like, okay, what's the deal? Well, because there are a thing called strains, there are variants. Well, what do you mean there's a strain? I took the vaccine. Yes, the vaccine that you took was specifically meant for the COVID-19, that particular virus. New variant, you require a different type of vaccine. And I think that's what's been driving me crazy when I listen. First of all, I don't listen to the idiot Joe Rogan, never. Okay, when he's trashing Fauci, oh, he's been 100% wrong. No, he's not. They are in a constant race. They are constantly trying to figure out where this thing is going. It literally is trying to catch a comet by the tail, because you don't know where it's going next. And I think the problem for this country is we like for everything to be nice and neat, in the box, perfect. Here's the whole deal, it's all straight, everything is just fine. No, it just doesn't happen that way, and that's what's driving people crazy. And this is why I keep saying we're going to keep putting black scientists and black doctors, people who are literally trained in this, discussing this. If I want to have an in-depth conversation about how to become an NFL all-pro tight end, I'm probably gonna call you, Ben. I'm not gonna call that brother down the street, okay, who got 38 followers, but he's dangerous with Google. And I just think that that's what the NFL did, which I think is important. They said to the players,
Oh, you got questions? Here are experts. Ask any of them questions. And a lot of players did that, but you didn't have all of these, again, these YouTube doctors and these Google historians out here. And I hear your point about, you know, black folks in history when it came to medical stuff. But guess what? White folks are taking the same vaccine we taking.
Right.
Same one. And so that's where I think credible voices, and I went on Tank's page and I said, Tank, your ass ain't no expert on singing, but not this shit. And so somebody just got to go ahead and say it.
Yeah. And to your point, I mean, that's why the NFL is at 92%. I mean, I can't, there's not another population. I mean, the general population is nowhere near that. And so you're right about the experts. We got experts together. We've had, I say we, I'm retired now, but I've been on some of the calls. They've had several calls with multiple medical experts to ask all the questions that you need. A lot of guys were concerned about their families. A lot of guys are concerned they got pregnant wives, they've got little kids. Some guys, I even talked to guys that were in college over the last year, some guys who actually opted out of their last college year and they're going into the NFL draft. Some of them opted out because they live with their grandmother. They wanted to take care of her. And so the information is out there. And I agree with you 100% as far as the expectations. That's what's frustrating. But it's even more frustrating when you have a certain expectation and you feel like it's not met and you wonder what you can do to trust the next recommendation. You got to keep pushing those things out.
So I'm gonna hit up. So go to my computer. I'm gonna hit up Ebony, and we're gonna see if we can do this. And so Ebony Hilton sent this out. This was in response to these posts that Bakari made. Excuse me, that Tank made. Bakari Seller slammed Tank for us, and then she said, "I honestly feel a candid conversation on a big platform gonna help so many. Just go through questions. I'm volunteering myself," and she mentioned all these doctors. So here's what we are going to do. Okay, this is what we are going to do. So we now have the ability for us to be able to take calls. And so I think what we're going to do is, and we're going to try to work it out, we're going to try to pick a day next week to do exactly that. Whole 2-hour show, we're going to have real doctors, no disrespect to entertainers, nobody who's in entertainment, nobody who's in sports, nobody who's dancing, real scientists and doctors. And folks, you got questions? Fine, ask them. That's what we're gonna do, because it has to happen, because there are too many people. I got 2 texts this week. Fraternity brother, again, brother refused to take a doggone vaccine. He dead. Another guy who's sitting here, his best friend wouldn't take the vaccine, wouldn't do anything. Guess what? His best friend's now planning his funeral. And so there are too many of us who can be living longer, but are making other choices. So I'll be going to try to do that. Ben Watson, I appreciate it, man.
Thanks, sir.
All right, thank you so very much.
Folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment.
Football bans and one of the best fan experiences in the country. The Cricket BX SWAC Challenge kickoff returns to Atlanta on August 28th, along with special guests, College Game Day. Then Alcorn State takes on North Carolina Central with conference bragging rights on the line. Center Park Stadium is the place to be on August 28th. Come tailgate all day before enjoying a primetime matchup on the gridiron. You don't want to miss this. Check out MEACSWACChallenge.com for more information.
Don't forget, folks, Roland Martin Unfiltered is going to be broadcasting live from Atlanta on Friday and Saturday. Friday will be at the Atlanta Braves Stadium, talking to the presidents of both universities, as well as officials with the SWAC and MEAC. Then on Saturday, we'll be at the Coca-Cola Fan Zone, broadcasting live from that particular afternoon. And then, of course, we'll be live streaming the halftime show and the concert taking place after the game. You can watch it at 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. And we appreciate it, in partnership with Coca-Cola, of making this happen. See you next week.